include the All-Star game and obviously France and Spain coming up at the end of the show. But we officially begin the terrific Sports Tuesday edition of You Better You Bet with a dream team in the National Football League. And no, I am not talking about Nnamdi Asomugha. I'm not talking about Vince Young and the 2011 Philadelphia Eagles. One of the iconic quotes of this century in sports. Dream team. Until they weren't. The dream was a nightmare that year for the Philadelphia Eagles. No. The dream team that we will discuss to open today's show in the National Football League looks to be Matthew Stafford, Sean McVay, Myles Garrett, Aaron Donald, and the Los Angeles Rams. Now, in case you are listening right now and watching right now, and you are unaware of what I'm talking about as it concerns Aaron Donald, because this has been bandied about for quite some time after the Rams swung the big trade to bring Myles Garrett from Cleveland to Los Angeles. It had been rumored, it had been bandied about that Aaron Donald could come out of retirement to join the LA Rams this season. I hadn't heard much from that story in the last little bit, as we're kind of in the dead zone on the NFL calendar right before training camp starts. Well, ESPN's Adam Schefter, who signed a contract extension with ESPN yesterday, and congratulations to him, the gold standard in the business. Adam Schefter goes on Pat McAfee's show yesterday, and I'm paraphrasing what Adam Schefter said. Basically, Aaron Donald reached out to the Rams last week to work out at the team's facility. What do you think, the Rams are going to say no? Like, he helped them win a Super Bowl. He's one of the greatest football players ever, defense or offense. He wanted to go work out at the facility to kind of see how it felt. And Schefter would add, and he didn't stamp his name on this and put it on the record 100% going to happen, but he's been pretty consistent throughout this process, whether it was a couple months ago, whether it's yesterday, July 13th, today, July 14th, saying that he believes, when it's all said and done, Aaron Donald will come out of retirement this year to play for the Los Angeles Rams. That has not happened yet. It may not happen. So the point of this is not to paint it as a guarantee. But it does feel like that's where things are moving. And if it does happen, and it feels like it's greater than 50% to happen. So if you were setting a betting line right now, the favorite would probably be that he comes back to play this year. So let's have a conversation about the Los Angeles Rams, if indeed Aaron Donald decides to come back. He will join a defensive line. And I said this after the trade, but I want to say it again. And I'll probably say it more times as we lead into week 1 of the NFL season. Imagine a defensive line that includes Myles Garrett. Like, you're an NFL team, Myles Garrett is on your defensive line. And you can honestly say that the best player on your defensive line is not Myles Garrett. Now, Garrett might be better this year than Donald because Donald's been retired for a number of years. But over the balance of their careers, like, who's better, Aaron Donald or Myles Garrett? It's Aaron Donald. And that, by the way, is not an insult to Myles Garrett at all. Aaron Donald's one of like the 6 or 7 greatest football players ever, regardless of position. Like, the guy is unbelievable. And even if he's 75% of what he was in his heyday, at his very best, I mean, that is an absolute monster in the middle of the defensive line for the LA Rams. And it's not just Donald, and it's not just Garrett. Here's Kobe Turner. Here's Byron Young. Here's Braden Fisk. Here's Poona Ford, who's an absolute stud run stuffer. I like Landman at linebacker. The linebackers are not going to confuse anyone with the 80s Giants, but you don't need them to be. With the strength of the defensive line and then the back end of the defense, which was shored up in free agency with Jalen Watson coming over from the Chiefs, and obviously the Rams trading a first-round pick for Kansas City corner Trent McDuffie. And we liked the safeties in Los Angeles. That wasn't the issue last year. It was the corners. And we talked about it in the playoffs last year, before the Bears game, before the Panthers game, before the Seahawks game, that this is the bugaboo for the Los Angeles Rams, and they went out and they fixed it this past offseason. At BetMGM, our show sponsor, the Rams are the favorite to win the Super Bowl at plus 500. The next closest team to the Rams, the Bills, is at 10-1. So this is the Rams are a decent-sized favorite right now to win the Super Bowl and are obviously favored to win the NFC at plus 300. Now, I was thinking about last night when, I'm trying to formulate the lead for the show and what I'm going to talk about, and I'm talking with Bill Zimmerman about it, and in my head I'm thinking, okay, is there a way to construct a narrative, construct a scenario, right? Because it's talk radio, and I really enjoy these things, right? While acknowledging the Rams are the favorite. Can we really poke holes in this team? And there are a couple places that I think you realistically can. Like Alaric Jackson, the Rams left tackle, is embroiled right now in legal troubles. And you can go look it up if you'd like to get into all the gory details there. Doesn't seem to be great. Could be penalized under the league's personal conduct policy. That's a big deal. If in fact that happens, you can poke a hole there. You can look at the lack of speed on offense as being a huge deal. And I think it is. Like, there is not a lot of speed on this offense, even if your counter to that is, well, they'll just play with 2 and 3 tight ends all the time, like they did last year, and kind of start this new offensive revolution. Okay, again, it's a fair counter to my point that there's not a lot of speed on this offense. Devontae Adams is getting long in the tooth, and we know the Rams tried to replace him with A.J. Brown. Okay, so maybe the Rams don't feel like Devontae is what he once was. Puka Nacua was literally, and I don't say this to make light of the situation or to make a joke, he was in rehab this year and kind of like went off the reservation for a little bit. What happens if he's not right mentally, if he's not right upstairs? Wants a big contract, obviously. What happens if he's not right? Kind of feels like the whole thing might fall apart. And then there's the quarterback, Matthew Stafford, late 30s. And if you remember, about a year ago, July and August in training camp, there was not fake concern, legitimate concern, that Matthew Stafford's back might not allow him to play last year, or at least start the season. It was a huge topic of conversation. And obviously, it ended up being what it was. He played the entire year. He was magnificent. He was the league's most valuable player. And, if not for a special teams error in the NFC Championship game in Seattle, maybe Matthew Stafford is a 2-time Super Bowl champion. So yeah, there are a couple things we can point to with the Rams and say, if X goes wrong, then they can't win. But if we're being fair, you could do that with any team. You could say with any team, even if we acknowledge Matthew Stafford's more likely to get injured than, let's say, Josh Allen. What if Josh Allen gets hurt? The Bills are screwed. Like, what if Justin Jefferson gets hurt? Vikings are screwed. We can do this with any team. So the purpose of this is not to say, well, actually, the Rams are not going to be good. Because if they stay healthy, and you could say this again about any team, if they stay healthy, and who knows what's going to happen. If the Rams stay relatively healthy, they're the best team. Like, they are. Now, I'm not going to pick them to go to the Super Bowl, because I do think that there are some issues there that I do think that are going to come to the forefront and are going to bubble up. I've talked about some of them in the course of this opening segment. I'm not going to pick them, but I have to acknowledge right now they are the best team. And I don't really think there's an argument to be made to the contrary. Whether you pick them or not, whether you bet them or not, they are right now, the Los Angeles Rams are the best team. But what I think is worth considering, right? Because if and when, and it feels more like when, right? Aaron Donald unretires and plays for the Rams this year. The fervor around this team, fervor going to reach a fever pitch, right? And everyone is going to be all over this team. And the hype is going to be deserved and justified, unlike the 2011 Dream Team Eagles. This hype will be justified. And who's not going to pick them? Who's not going to be interested in betting the Los Angeles Rams? And I haven't even mentioned the fact that they might have the best coach in the NFL, or one of the 2 or 3 best coaches in the NFL, in Sean McVay. It's like, they're nasty. They're great. But what I want everybody to consider for a moment is just how stacked and just how loaded the NFC is this season. Yes, the Rams are the best team of the bunch on paper entering the year. No doubt. I'm not going to say otherwise. You can't say otherwise. But to insinuate that this is going to be some romp to the Super Bowl for Los Angeles, I think is wrong, and I think is ridiculous. Because the level of competition in this conference is something fierce. And let's just quickly go down the line to really illustrate what I'm talking about. The Philadelphia Eagles, remember them? Kind of been left for dead by everybody, right? After the way last season ended. Losing the wild card round to the San Francisco 49ers. The disaster that followed, right? With Jalen Hurts and A.J. Brown and Kevin Patullo. Well, Patullo's out. Enter Sean Mannion. I'm pretty bullish on what this Eagles offense can look like. And I'm a Jalen Hurts guy. I would be pretty surprised if we made it this time next year and we're not talking about a really successful Philadelphia Eagles season and a successful season for Jalen Hurts. So I think the Eagles are going to be there in the postseason for sure. And I think the Eagles are going to be a problem for a lot of teams November, December, and into January. Let's stay in the division. How are the Dallas Cowboys not going to be way better than they were last year? The Cowboys went from Matt Eberflus, a.k.a. Matt Eberflus, running this defense, to Christian Parker. And if you remember, a couple months ago on the show, we were joined by ESPN Sal Paolantonio, who has been a legendary figure in NFL media circles, and fans know who he is, obviously, really plugged in the NFL and specifically in the NFC East, and specifically in Philadelphia. And Christian Parker comes from the Eagles under Vic Fangio to run this defense in Dallas. And I'm not going to lie and tell you, like, I've sat down and had beers with Christian Parker, but I read a lot, and I watch a lot, and I listen to a lot. And it feels like all the really smart people whose job it is to cover this league in minute detail all think this guy's a stud. And Sal Pal's on the show with us saying he thinks Christian Parker's a future head coach in the NFL. Like, this should matter to you. This should matter when you think about this upcoming NFL season, that this Cowboys defense is not going to be Swiss cheese this year. It's not going to be filled with holes. Here's Caleb Downs now in the first round. Here's Malachi Lawrence helping to rush the passer. Here's a full offseason now with Quinnen Williams and Kenny Clark. And Kobe Durant on the back end. And the offense should be great with Dak Prescott and George Pickens and obviously CeeDee Lamb and that offensive line and Brian Schottenheimer and Clayton Adams, who could be a future head coach as well, their offensive coordinator. I think the Cowboys are going to be really good this year. Now, I'm not going to spend time on the Giants and the Commanders, but what I will say is there are upside cases here to be made for both of those teams. Second-year quarterback in Jackson Dart. Like, I kind of think Jackson Dart's not going to be great this year, but I have to acknowledge, like, what if he is? What if he's just awesome under the tutelage of John Harbaugh and Matt Nagy? Like, what if that happens? Like, obviously, there's tons of talent on defense. There's an upside case to be made for the Giants. And the Commanders, just 2 years ago, played on Championship Sunday and have a stud young quarterback in Jaden Daniels and a new defensive system with better defensive talent with a Brian Flores disciple in Durante Jones calling the plays now, and a new offensive system and offensive coordinator, David Bling Blau, replacing Cliff Kingsbury. You can make an upside case for the Giants or the Commanders. How about the NFC North? How about this division? We said this last year, and I'll say it heading into this year. You could tell me that the NFC North finishes in any order, 1, 2, 3, 4, and you can sell it. You could sell the Lions coming in first. You could sell the Lions coming in last. You could sell the Bears coming in first. You could sell the Bears coming in last. Same with the Packers. Same with the Vikings. All 4 of these teams are playoff caliber teams this season. Who do I like the best of the 4 personally? I like Minnesota a lot if Kyler Murray's going to be the quarterback the entire season. But man, I'm not going to discount Detroit. I'm not going to discount Green Bay. All the Packers do is make the playoffs every single year. And I know a lot of people are going to be down on the Bears this year, and they'll point to the Bears' defense and specifically the pass rush and say the Bears maybe got lucky last year with turnovers forced and Caleb Williams with all the late-game heroics and pulling it out of his you-know-what at the end of games. Here's what I know about the Bears. They have a great coach, and they have what I believe to be a great quarterback. So I'm not going to count out the Bears. So that's 2 divisions already where you can make a case for any of the 8 teams to make a run. I'm not going to do that for the NFC South, which feels like probably the worst division in football. So it's like, pick your poison there. I'm leaning towards Carolina, but I'm not going to make a case for Carolina, Tampa, Atlanta, or New Orleans to be a serious contender. Let's go to the NFC West, where the Rams, obviously, are the favorite and the deserved favorite. How about the fact that the reigning defending Super Bowl champions are also in that division? And that team beat the Rams twice down the stretch of the season. That epic Thursday night game towards the end of the year in Seattle that basically got the Seahawks home field advantage throughout the playoffs, and then obviously beat the Rams on Championship Sunday before throttling the Patriots in Super Bowl 60. Seattle's still there, and no one's talking about the Seahawks. Isn't that funny? Reigning, defending Super Bowl champion Seattle Seahawks. And people can't stop talking about the Rams. How about the San Francisco 49ers? Kyle Shanahan, pretty good coach. Nick Bosa, Fred Warner, both going to be back this year. That matters. 2 Hall of Fame caliber players who didn't play last year, basically, now going to play this year for San Francisco. And I have so much faith in Kyle Shanahan, and I have faith in Brock Purdy. It looks like George Kittle will be back at some point early in the season from the Achilles. I'm not going to sleep on the foot. You can if you want to. I'm not going to. So yes, the LA Rams on paper profile as the best team. And yes, if and when the Rams sign Aaron Donald, the hype is only going to kick into overdrive. And I acknowledge that. And I'm not poking holes in it. But what I am saying, do not sleep on the rest of this conference. This conference is loaded, and you can make the case for a ton of teams to upend the apple cart. As a matter of fact, on July 14th, I'm getting close to ready to put my name on it. That the NFC Championship game this year will not feature the LA Rams. And instead, we will have a matchup that will have everyone, well, I guess you have to be of a certain age to feel this way, like me, yearning for the halcyon days of youth. Can I interest anybody in a rivalry renewed on Championship Sunday? The San Francisco 49ers and the Dallas Cowboys. We are just getting started here on a Tuesday. You bet Nick Kostos and you on Westwood One Sports, presented by BetMGM. On the other side, why last night's home run derby was a massive success for Netflix, and I believe a success for baseball fans. Don't go anywhere. Keep it locked right here. Westwood One Sports.
Now, back to You Better You Bet with Nick Kostos, presented by BetMGM on Westwood One Sports.
This segment on You Better You Bet, sponsored by Progressive Commercial Insurance, protecting your business vehicles 24/7. See if you can save at progressivecommercial.com, progressivecommercial.com. I didn't think I would come on the air today and say this. In fact, I thought I'd be saying the exact opposite. I really enjoyed Netflix's coverage last night of the Home Run Derby. And it makes me feel slightly queasy to say that, but I have to be honest with everybody. And the reason why I didn't think I'd be saying that, and I thought I'd be saying the exact opposite, is because the opening day game with the Yankees and the Giants was such an absolute train wreck by Netflix. With all the celebrities, like no one cares. Here's Bert Kreischer. Like, I don't care. I don't even know who he is. Why is he on my television screen? And what I said the next day was, like, hey, can we just do sports? Like, can you just show the game? Like, is sports not enough? It was like YouTube's, Chiefs Chargers game last year in Brazil. Like, here's Mr. Beast. I don't care. Can I watch the damn football game? Like, can I watch the damn baseball game with my favorite team and not be inundated with celebrity cameos, basically serving as an infomercial vehicle for Netflix? I don't need that. Got to give credit where credit's due. Netflix definitely listened. And I'm not insinuating they were listening solely to me, but I'm also not the only voice that was saying this. People were not happy with it. Now, there was a little bit of this last night during the Home Run Derby, where you had, Will Ferrell has a new show coming out, whatever. I've been tweeting with friend of the show, Ryan Glassbeagle from Front Office Sports, about this. I ran into a couple friends this past weekend, and we were talking, and they're like, watch anything good on TV? Like a married couple. Watch anything good on TV recently? And my response was, yeah, like the World Cup. Like, I don't watch TV shows. Like, I just watch sports. So, Will Ferrell has a show. I probably won't watch it. I'm not saying it won't be good. But he's in character. It's just not funny. And, like, Will Ferrell obviously is funny. I'm not here to tell you, well, actually, Will Ferrell sucks. Like, he doesn't. He's made me laugh a million times. But him and Luke Wilson and whatever the hell that was not funny and unnecessary. It's not needed. Like, sports fans want to watch sports. Like, a Will Ferrell cameo is not going to make me want to watch the Will Ferrell show. In fact, it's going to make me not want to watch it because I want to watch sports. But if we're being honest, that was like a small misstep by Netflix. Otherwise, they treated it like ESPN would treat it. Or like Fox would treat it. And that's not to say that ESPN and Fox and other TV networks are perfect, but like there was a respect for sports last night by Netflix. And Robert Flores from MLB Network is going to join us in a couple minutes, so I'll save some of my like deeper thoughts on the broadcast itself, because I think there's some interesting stuff going on with Barry Bonds. I'll actually say that now. Barry Bonds, who's on like the lounge with Albert Pujols and with L. Duncan. Barry Bonds, if you think about the way he was viewed during his playing career, both to fans and to the media, everyone to a man or a woman will tell you, not the nicest guy. Kind of a you-know-what, like part of the male anatomy. Like, not a nice guy, kind of a jerk. It feels a little bit to me like he's overcompensating, trying to be too nice and too complimentary. My guess is that he knows, if he may never make the Hall of Fame, and he's lost in the court of public opinion despite holding the home run record and considered to be one of the greatest players ever. And it feels to me like this is a Hail Mary attempt to kind of fix his public image. That's my opinion. You may disagree. I think I'm right about that. Time will tell. I'd like Barry Bonds to be a little authentic. To me, it doesn't. I watch Albert Pujols, and I feel like Pujols is being authentic. I don't know if Barry Bonds is being fully authentic. But you know what? He's also Barry Bonds. So you watch what he had, like you listen to what he has. He's one of the greatest players ever, won a home run derby. So I thought that was fine. I liked Vesgersian. Hunter Pence's enthusiasm is great. I think Anthony Rizzo has a ton of charisma. I really liked it. Now, there were issues, and I think rightfully so, with some of the camera cuts where we're missing big swings because the camera's literally on the batter's face instead of the swing. I get it. But I'll throw this out there. And I'm being serious right now, right? And I was pessimistic going into last night in the broadcast, where there were so many issues with opening day, with the Yankees-Giants game. If we're being sincere, Netflix fixed a lot of them. And I don't get paid by Netflix. I'm giving you my honest opinion. So I will give Netflix the benefit of the doubt and say, my sense is they'll fix that next time. I would give Netflix, at worst, a B+ for the Home Run Derby broadcast last night, if not an A-. And you know what? A little bit better with the camera cuts and no Will Ferrell. We're at an A. So it was good. I liked it. And obviously the format, ditching the clock and having the walk-off swing, and you can't, the only way your round ends is with not a home run, was obviously brilliant and gave us tremendous drama at the end, with Jordan Walker winning with 6 home runs in a row on his final swing to best the local boy and the Philadelphia Philly, Kyle Schwarber. And I found that to be hysterical, just how that all went down. We'll get to it a little later in the show, but for Netflix, strong seal of approval from me. On the other side, we'll talk about tonight's Major League Baseball All-Star Game and preview the second half of the season with stud MLB Network host Robert Flores. Roflo joins Nick Kostos next on You Better You Bet.
Now, back to You Better You Bet with Nick Kostos, presented by BetMGM on Westwood One Sports.
It is time for the world's top stars to go head-to-head on the pitch. How about Kylian Mbappe and Lamine Yamal today in the World Cup semifinal, France v. Spain? If you're going to bet the game, you should be doing it with our friends at BetMGM. Grab today's Odds Boost token, join the excitement, and make your World's Game moment. Activate your token for any World's Game bet, and you'll receive a bigger payout if your bet wins. Download the BetMGM app today, and please gamble responsibly. You know, because I've been talking about it since before the tournament started, I believe and have bet that France will win the World Cup. I will tell you later in the show how they will get past Spain today. And I said it yesterday. This is basically the World Cup final. 3 o'clock Eastern today. France and Spain. Winner of that game will beat either England or Argentina on Sunday. I believe it will be France over England in the World Cup final. This is quietly today a great day in sports. World Cup semifinal, France and Spain. And then how about the Major League Baseball All-Star game tonight in Philadelphia? And joining us right now to talk about it, and a hearty congratulations are in order for our guest, who has just celebrated recently 10 years, a full decade, hosting at MLB Network. He does a fantastic job there. It's our friend Robert Flores, who's been on the show a number of times on Twitter at RoFlo, and you can watch Robert coast MLB Network's MLB Central, noon Eastern today, right after we go off the air. A little synergy there. Live from Philly ahead of tonight's All-Star game. RoFlo, welcome back to the show. Nick Kostos here. Congratulations, my man, to start on a decade at MLB Network. How are you?
I'm fine, Nick, and thank you very much. I appreciate it.
You got it. Let's start before we get to the All-Star game tonight with your impressions and thoughts, and I just did about 6-7 minutes on it before you came on. I loved the home run derby last night. I thought it was great. What did Robert Flores think of last night's home run derby, won in pretty dramatic fashion by Jordan Walker of the Cardinals?
Yeah, I thought it delivered. I think the home run derby always delivers. I think it's one of the great events as part of All-Star Week. The crowd was enthused, and I don't recall. I don't recall any fans booing a competitor
right.
at the home run derby, but hey, Philly fans are in it and they're rooting for their guys. So I thought it was great theater, and I'm so happy for Jordan Walker, considering kind of the peaks and valleys that he's went through in the early part of his big league career, and for him to be at the All-Star game playing and then to win the home run derby, I thought it was tremendous.
And he made more money last night, right, winning the home run derby than he'll make the entire season this year. I think that'll get rectified at some point with the with the St. Louis Cardinals. And good.
Yeah, no, I think you're right. That's a very good point. No, but I think the Cardinals, he's part of what is an interesting core there in St. Louis. They have locked up J.J. Weatherholt. They do have some other young pieces. And Jordan Walker, I think, is right in the middle of that. So, maybe it'll be interesting to see how soon he is locked up, possibly with an extension.
I'm curious if you had an experience, RoFlo, kind of similar to mine at the end of this. So, it looks like Schwarber starts the final round, right? And he's launching moonshots and the crowd's going nuts. And my sense is that he thought and the crowd thought that he was going to win. So Netflix, right, kept panning to Schwarber as Jordan Walker starts hitting home runs. And it was very funny to watch Schwarber go from his facial expressions, like he should go into acting when his career's done, because he went from uber confident to kind of like, oh man, he's starting to rake a little bit. And then he's hugging himself so hard with his hands crossed. He went through like the 5 stages of grief in like a span of 30 seconds. And then it's reached the point where he's like, oh, am I going to lose? And it mirrored the crowd reaction also. Like, what was your experience watching? I thought it was like masterpiece theater. I loved it.
No, I think you're right. That's a great point. I thought it was great directing. I thought it was great technical work by Netflix and those folks there. Because, you could see Kyle Schwarber's face change in real time as he saw Jordan Walker start to get closer and closer. So I thought it was excellent. And like I said, it was just great theater. And that's one of the reasons we love the home run derby, because it always delivers.
What is, RoFlo, the one thing that excites you the most about tonight's All-Star game?
That's a good question. I want to see what kind of reception Christopher Sanchez gets. I love seeing when the hometown All Stars get received and things like that. Also, there's so many great arms in the game today. I just want to see how they attack some of the younger or some of the great hitters around the league. So that's why the MLB All Star Game is like the one kind of All Star game that remains true to what we see on a daily or nightly basis, and that's why I think it always delivers.
And it's kind of the only one that kind of feels at least close to exactly what it was when I was growing up. And I appreciate that about the MLB All-Star Game. And if you, dear listener and dear viewer, are looking for MLB All-Star content, again, Roflo and Company, MLB Central, noon Eastern today on MLB Network, live from Philadelphia ahead of the All-Star Game tonight. I would love to, my friend, talk about I know we're past the midway point, but we call it the second half of the season. Talk about the second half of the season in Major League Baseball. And I'd love to start with your impressions of the hosting city, the Philadelphia Phillies. And obviously the move they make with Don Mattingly seems to have invigorated this team, and they're only a couple games behind the Braves in the NL East and seem pretty poised here. Where are you at right now on the Philadelphia Phillies as we get set to come out of the All-Star break in a couple days?
I mean, this is a team that can win the World Series. Obviously, there's the National League is stacked, including the Dodgers, who, despite all the injuries, despite all the missing pieces, still have the most wins in baseball right now at the All-Star break. But make no mistake, the Philadelphia Phillies can win this whole thing. Now, Dave Dombrowski's got some work to do. He needs a right-handed bat. He needs some bullpen help. But there's one thing you do not have to worry about Dave Dombrowski, and that's him being aggressive. So he's going to do everything in his power to get his team all the pieces they need. But yeah, they could definitely win it all. There's no doubt about that.
Yeah, I agree. And actually was just talking to our crew in the show chat. I actually kind of think they're going to win it all since they made the manager change. Something a little different here for this Phillies team that had fallen short a number of times. And Roflo, that'll take me to the American League. And I'd love to get your thoughts on my favorite team, the New York Yankees, because I kind of felt like the Phillies were, I don't know about evolving, maybe devolving, honestly, into what the Yankees have been recently, which is a team that's in the mix every year but can't get over the hump. Now, the Phillies made their big move, right? They fired the manager. They did something new. The Yankees keep rolling out the same thing every year, and I think the Yankees will be a playoff team. I don't even know if they're going to win the division. What about the New York Yankees and the balance of power in the American League?
Well, look, the American League is wide open. So I know the Yankees have not been playing their best baseball. They did win the series this weekend in Washington going into the break. But, I mean, all the questions and all the what ifs, it doesn't matter if Aaron Judge isn't right and isn't healthy. So, that's where we have to start. He is the end-all, be-all with this team. If he's not available, if he's not healthy, they're not going to the World Series. They're certainly not winning it. So anything beyond that is just pure speculation and what if. I mean, for me, I got to have Aaron Judge healthy. That's it. It's as simple as that.
If I told you, and I can't guarantee this, right? But it feels like Judge will be back in a month. I'm a Yankee fan. I know how this goes. We'll see. But if I told you Aaron Judge is going to be back, will be healthy for the stretch run, healthy in October, and I asked you, Roflo, right now, because it is a wide open American League, you're 100% right. Pick the winner of the American League. Who are you taking right now and why?
Yeah, if you're telling me Aaron Judge is healthy and the rotation is healthy and Brian Cashman is able to solidify that bullpen a little bit more, get some reinforcements, then yes, I feel confident, and that's the team that would be my pick to represent the American League. Would that be enough to overtake the Dodgers, the Phillies, the Brewers, depending on what they do? I don't know. But I do know I feel very, very good if Aaron Judge is healthy and my rotation, which is stacked when it's right, is healthy as well. So I think that right now it's a lot of what ifs. But luckily, we still have some weeks and still have a lot of games to play before we get to that point.
And, the games that were played on Sunday, I thought this was a pretty noteworthy, final day of the first half of the regular season, right? You mentioned the Yankees and their final comeback of the weekend against the Washington Nationals. The Red Sox-Mets series, I think, belongs in the Smithsonian, for the Mets being as bad as they are, 17 games under 500, and the way Francisco Lindor boots the ball in the ninth, and they lose that game to Boston on Sunday, and the Red Sox take that series. And Boston, Roflo, I know you know this, they won 9 straight games. And it feels like, I don't want to say they're quite the Phillies of the American League because the Phillies have had more success, but Boston definitely seems on the up and up, and maybe the All-Star break came at a bad time for the Red Sox. What about Boston? Disappointing to start the year, but entered the All-Star break scorching hot.
Well, look, I don't envy Greg Bresler right now. Yes, his team has won 9 in a row. But I think the thing that I've learned from working with all of our analysts, especially former GMs, former executives at MLB Network, is the most important thing that these front office people can do is to have an honest evaluation and a correct evaluation of their own club. Are the Red Sox, yes, they've won 9 in a row. Are they a viable contender? I don't know. Are they a viable contender to win the World Series? My guess is no. But that's just from my outsiders not being their point of view. And if you're not there, then what do you do? Because they do have some valuable pieces, namely Aroldis Chapman. So do you pull the trigger on a Chapman trade, even though you might be in the mix, at least according to the standing as far as a postseason berth? That is a very, very difficult thing and a very difficult question to ask. But it's certainly, they're playing much better baseball, considering where they were at the beginning of the season. And they put themselves right in the mix in an American League that is filled with parity right now.
Final question, Roflo. It feels like the Tarek Skubal conversation has been omnipresent this season. Are the Tigers going to trade him? In Detroit, playing better baseball leading into the break, winners of 7 of 10, only 3.5 games out of a wild card spot in the American League. Do you think when it's all said and done, Tarek Skubal will get traded? And if he doesn't, and you think he stays in Detroit, what do you think the biggest domino that falls will be at the trade deadline? We have about 60 seconds for the answer.
I'm going to say I've been the advocate since this whole discussion really got going about the Skubal trade is why not do both? Why not trade Tarek Skubal? Maybe you get some major league ready talent in return as part of your package for him, and you can do both. Look, the American League right now, as we've been saying, it is not as stacked as the National League. So maybe you can trade Tarek Skubal, still have enough to get into the postseason, and then you're ready to not only win possibly now, but you got some pieces back for Tarek Skubal for the future because you're not signing him.
Fascinating. It's going to be fascinating leading up to Monday, August 3rd, the trade deadline in Major League Baseball. Roflo, I sincerely appreciate the time. We're looking forward to watching you, MLB Central, noon Eastern today, live from Philly, ahead of the All-Star game. Thank you very much. Congratulations again on 10 years with MLB Network.
That is very kind of you. Thank you for saying that, and thanks for having me.
Our friend Robert Flores joining us here on You Better, You Bet. So he's a little optimistic in my Yankees if Aaron Judge is healthy, and I could certainly understand that. I can't get there. I can't get there on the Yankees. And it's the same reason I've been giving for years. And how can I give the same reason for years? Is because they never change anything. At least the Phillies did something. Fired the manager. Here's Don Mattingly now, former Yankee to boot. I think better chance to win the World Series? Definitely the Phillies over my Yankees. Hour 1 done, hour 2 for you. Coming up on the other side, we'll talk some NFL to start hour number 2 with our teammate Brad Evans next.
with Nick Kostos.
Hey, this is Joe Buck, and you have done it. You have found it. You are listening to You Better You Bet. Great decision.
This is Bob Costas, not Kostos, but you are listening to Nick Kostos on You Better You Bet.
Hi, this is Kevin Harlan of CBS, Westwood One, and TNT, and I'm listening, as you do every day, to You Better You Bet with the most handsome single man in the radio business. A man who, if I was not married for 38 years, I might consider myself the kind of guy that can electrify a listening audience and a crowd of bystanders watching him do what he does so well each and every day. Continue to listen right here on You Better You Bet.
This is You Better You Bet on Westwood One Sports, brought to you by BetMGM.
The terrific Sports Tuesday edition of You Better You Bet rolls on. Nick Kostos, our crew, and you here on Westwood One Sports. Who says there's nothing going on in the world of sports right now? I don't want to know those people. How about Adam Schefter saying yesterday on ESPN he thinks Aaron Donald's coming out of retirement? Pretty interesting. Remember when Vince Young deemed the 2011 Philadelphia Eagles with Nnamdi Asomugha and others as the dream team? Well, he was obviously wrong. This, though, for the Rams, does feel like a dream team if Donald does come out of retirement. And will it be, if it happens, a nightmare? See what I did there? For the rest of the NFC? Probably. There's no way around it. They're the best team on paper. And I think about what holes can I poke in the LA Rams. They are holes that you could poke in any team. They are the best team on paper. But don't let that make you lose sight of the fact that the rest of this conference is absolutely loaded. Philly and Dallas in the NFC East and upside cases for the Giants and the Commanders. Every team in the NFC North you can make a case for. And how about the fact that in the Rams' own division, the reigning, defending Super Bowl champions, just the team that beat the Rams twice at the end of the year, just the Seahawks, reigning Super Bowl champions, and Kyle Shanahan and the San Francisco 49ers. I am leaning towards, not putting it in pen just yet, pencil for right now. I can erase it if I'd like. My NFC Championship game, how about an early 90s throwback? Niners and Cowboys. Oh, yeah. We also got into the home run derby, why I think Netflix absolutely slammed it out of the park. Not a perfect A or A plus performance, but B plus at worst for Netflix. We will get into Jordan Walker and his heroics and the humor in the moments as Jordan Walker came back, tied, and won the home run derby with the many faces of Kyle Schwarber going through the 5 stages of grief in real time, and the crowd in Philadelphia. I found it to be very, very, very funny, and a great job by the crowd in Philadelphia last night. We'll get to NBA coming up a little later this hour, why I think the Lakers won't stink this season, but they ain't winning a championship with this new core with Luka, Austin Reeves, and Walker Kessler. That's coming up a little later. Tony Reali, formerly of ESPN. He just launched his new venture. Tony Reali, my fellow Fordham Ram, joins us 1 hour from right now. But joining us right now, it's been too long since I've spoken to him on the air at least. Our BetMGM, I was going to say BetMGM Network, but that's not what this is anymore. Our Westwood One Sports teammate, BetMGM Tonight, under the BetMGM umbrella. Our friend Brad Evans, 6 to 11 p.m. Eastern, BetMGM Tonight here on Westwood One Sports, along with our friend Pat Boyle on Twitter at Noisy Huevos, fantasy football expert, and all-around great guy and ball knower. Brad, welcome back to the show. What's going on, my friend? Hola, amigo.
Hola, amigo! It is so wonderful to hear your sultry voice and to see your handsomeness as well. Appreciate you having me on.
I don't think I'm ugly. Thank you for saying that. I have heard my voice described in many ways in my 43 years on this planet. Sultry has never been one of the words used to describe it. Before we talk some football, my friend, how the hell has the summer been treating you? What's Brad Evans been up to? You're not as tan as I was hoping to see you here.
Well, I think the lights are doing their job. I'm a little bit darker in terms of the sunshine. I'm getting my 10,000 steps in a day. I've taken a couple of vacaciones. My wife just got back from Kauai. So I was a man alone, no kids in the house. I had no wife in the house, just me and the dog the last week, and it was kind of awesome. So just sat on my keister, watched a lot of sports, fired off a ton of bets, and of course, started researching for all of my eventual not fantasy champion.
Well, you and I are both in the Scott Fish Bowl. We'll get to that in a little bit here, and I'll explain to the audience if you don't know what that is. It's something you probably should be aware of, kind of like the unofficial kickoff to fantasy football season. We'll get to that in a little bit. But Brad, just curious, because I led the show with it today, just curious your overall viewpoint right now on the NFC. And this doesn't have to be like a prediction written in pen. It's July 14th. Training camp hasn't even started yet. But just curious where you're at right now in the NFC, with the Rams obviously the favorite at our show sponsors, BetMGM. But I think you can make the case for a lot of potential teams in that conference. What about Brad Evans on the NFC here on July 14th?
Yeah, call me Chuckity Chalk. But I took the Rams before the Myles Garrett trade. Obviously, quadrupled down post that deal, and post, of course, the Aaron Donald. Eventually news that he is going to come out of retirement and man the trenches. One of the premier run stuffers in the league a couple of years ago. A guy that all he does is collapse his pockets. And you pair him up with the all-time single-season sack leader and Myles Garrett. My God. The Rams defense is going to be gnarly. It's going to be downright nasty. Plus, they made key investments in the back end when Trent McDuffie. That was a clear area of weakness in my mind a season ago. So I think the Rams, bar don't have the best defense in the NFC. I think there is a very strong argument that they're going to have the best offense in the NFC. I know Matthew Stafford's getting close to 40. He's a little long in the tooth, but he got an outstanding offensive line. He's going to be well protected. And you keep that jersey clean, he is going to pick secondaries apart with Puka Nacua, Devontae Adams. I don't give a damn who the WR3 is. They're going to feature a lot of heavy personnel, a lot of people buying that Terrence Ferguson could be a breakout candidate, a field-stretching tight end. He got the 1-2 punch on the ground, Kyron Williams and Blake Corum. This is a true story. About a month ago, at our friends at BetMGM, I fired off on the Rams to have the most wins in the entire National Football League. Got that at plus 850. That's cascaded down the mountainside now. I think it's like 5-1 odds, which is also the same odds the Rams have of winning the Super Bowl. And I grabbed that at plus 750 about a month ago. I think they're going to win at least 13 games. And this may sound outlandish. This may sound like, hey, Evans, put down the tequila. But I will say this, Nick. I think there is a decent chance the Rams, like the 72 Dolphins, go through the season untouched, undefeated. That's how high I'm on LAR this year, who could win a Super Bowl in their own yard since it's played at SoFi this season.
I got to tell you, man, it is a bold prediction. If it happens, all the props in the world to you, because, and look, I'm going to say something in a second, but I want to preface that by saying, just remember what I said at the start of this hour and what I led the show with. The Rams are the best team. So I think they're going to be great also. The schedule is brutal, especially to start the year. Melbourne against the Niners, home Giants. Not that the Giants are great shakes, but I mean, you're coming off a Melbourne game. At Denver, at Philly, home Buffalo. It's not easy. So if the Rams go 13-4, 14-3, like, they will absolutely solidify themselves entering the postseason as the best team in the NFL. Just fantasy-wise on the Rams, because if Puka keeps his head right, obviously he's going to be a monster. I don't know if I love Devontae Adams this year. I like Kyron Williams, but you mentioned the 1-2 punch. Blake Corum would be the guy behind him. Besides for Puka Nacua, do you love anyone on the Rams offense this year for fantasy football?
Yeah, I mean, I still think there is plenty of 10 touchdown upside for Devontae Adams, and a guy you're consistently getting in round 3, round 4 of a lot of 12-team exercises that are out there. Kyron Williams, it seems like every single season outperforms his average draft position or his ADP. He is right now in drafts conducted here in the month of July in the best ball variety, which gives a fair measuring stick of where guys are valued at. He's RB14 at pick number 31.69. Nice. Overall, it's going to be a 1-2 punch with him and Corum. And there's a lot of high-level expectations. Corum going around pick number 100 on average in drafts right now, that he's maybe going to siphon off as much as 45% of the opportunity share. But I don't think that's going to be the case. I still think Kyron Williams is going to get around 65% of that opportunity share. He is going to be the primary red zone running back, decent hands out of the backfield in that Rams offense. Yet if all of the key parts stay upright, they're going to live in the red zone this year. That's why I'm leaning into the narrative that Adams, assuming a full 17-game slate, catches at least 10 TD passes, and why Kyron Williams will probably once again finish as a back-end RB1 in 12-team leagues. And again, you're getting him right now at an RB2 price.
So I talk with our executive producer, Bill Zimmerman, a lot, but just like, what are we going to do on the show coming up in the next couple of weeks, the next couple of months leading into football season? And I find that because I love fantasy football more than the average person, and I know that you do as well. Yeah. So I'll talk to Bill and say, do you think we're there yet with fantasy? And even I have to acknowledge sometimes that even if I'm super into it, I think the general public might not be just yet. I think we're there now because I'm starting to get text messages from my friend groups really excited for fantasy football this year. When is our draft going to be? Like the bleep talking has already started. So I feel comfortable having these conversations now on July 14th with training camps opening a couple weeks from now. So I'd love to run through positions with you because you are, and I'm not just saying this, people know your background for Yahoo Sports and the Gaming Juice and all the places that you've worked, the great fantasy analysis. You're a fantasy football expert in addition to being a radio host on our network here on Westwood One Sports. So I'd love to go through the positions and get your thoughts on, it can be sleepers, it can be guys we know that you think will be monsters this year, guys you don't like, anywhere you want to take it. Let's start at the quarterback position. What stands out to Brad Evans this year?
I think Kyler Murray is criminally undervalued.
I love that.
Going to be loose.
Love it.
You draft him at Scott Fish as your quarterback too. Essentially a super flex format, so it's essentially a 2-quarterback league. I think he's going to greatly exceed his ADP right now. A lot of people writing off the artist formerly known as the Dachshund of the Desert. Now he's a mini Dachshund of Minnesota. He's going to quarterback 19, 114.11 overall. People, do you not realize that Kyler Murray is still a fairly young man? Do you not realize, with the exception of last year, every single season he has been under center with the Arizona Cardinals? He finished QB 12 or better, and the price tag right now at QB 19. I know it was only 5 games. It was a limited sample size, but he was top 5 last season in adjusted completion percentage. And you're upgrading the arsenal because you're adding now Justin Jefferson. They were the Vikings and KOC, Kevin O'Connell, a mastermind offensively, a better offensive line. The defense, a little bit suspect, which is good because that boosts the potential for cleaning up in garbage time or at least high-scoring affairs. Kyler Murray, baby, is going to turn a tidy profit, and that Dachshund is going to earn the sausages. Best value on the board, in my opinion, at the quarterback position, Nick.
I want to stick with the Vikings for a second, and I'm kind of going a little off script from what the script that I had laid out with going through the positions, but, we brought up the Scott Fish Bowl, which is Scott Fish is a guy in fantasy football community who hosts this big charity league, and it's like literally maybe thousands of people in this league and all these different leagues under the umbrella, and it's a big slow draft. So it started 8 days ago. So we're 10 rounds into my draft right now, and I draft. I agree with you. I love Kyler this year. So I came on the board a couple rounds ago, and I reached in terms of his ranking for Jordan Addison, who's the Vikings wide receiver 2, Justin Jefferson, obviously the wide receiver 1. I love Addison this year. And I think, Brad, that if anyone out there listening, watching, like us, thinks Kyler Murray can have a good year, Justin Jefferson's going to have a nice season. How does Jordan Addison not absolutely smash this year?
I think he's going to, again, turn a tidy profit like a many commodities within this offense. You look at Jordan Addison right now, his ADP is WR46. So overall at 106.82. So you're getting kind of the beer buzzy rounds of your fantasy draft, and a guy you're going to probably draft as a 4th, or maybe you went wide receiver heavy early in your draft as your 5th WR. And I think he's going to be a quite viable plug and play guy. I think there is potential there for 850, 900 yards, 5 to 7 touchdowns. You get that low production. Again, he is going to profit at WR46 with that price tag. Again, I mentioned the accuracy of Kyler Murray. I mentioned the outstanding offensive line, which would keep a lot of those pockets clean so Murray can survey the field. I know he's diminutive in size, but he is going to, find Addison wide open often because Addison usually gets that extra step and has those separation skills, and he's going to see a lot of mano-a-mano coverage with so much attention being paid to Justin Jefferson. So I think you're on the right track, mi amigo. Jordan Addison is a guy you got to highlight on your cheat sheet because the upside, it's measurable.
You bet on this Tuesday. Westwood One Sports presented by BetMGM. Nick Kostos and you. Our guest, Brad Evans, BetMGM tonight on Westwood One Sports, 6 to 11 p.m. Eastern Time, on Twitter at Noisy Huevos. Brad, what about the running back position this year in fantasy and your strategy there?
Well, there's a number of guys that I really love. And look, you could still go RB heavy in drafts. So, there are a number of people out there like, no, WRs are the way to go. But I think it's a pretty deep running back class, and that could also lean into you exercising and playing the patience game. But man, a guy that I would extend the go gadget arm on a full round ahead of his ADP that is right now kind of in the back end of round 2, early portion of round 3, Omarion Hampton of the LA Chargers, a guy that was visually very appealing last season when he was on the field, and the advanced data backs it up. He was top 10 in yards after contact per attempt. He was top 12 in missed tackle rate, top 12 in yards created per touch. He's got a premium offensive line. You say what you want about Justin Herbert, but at least he keeps the defense honest. I got a plus arsenal around him to stretch the field, to lighten those boxes, and he has got a top half overall favorable strength of schedule. I don't think it's outlandish to say this at all, Nick. I think Omarion Hampton is a dark horse to win the rush title this year because Mike McDaniel is now calling the shots. And you remember what McDaniel did last season with the Miami Dolphins and Devon Achane, carry that production over to an equally talented Omarion Hampton, and he flourishes. And I'll give you one other name that I really like deep in drafts, Rachaad White of the Washington Commanders, a guy who get well after pick number 100 overall. Yes, he's going to be locking horns and a bit of a timeshare with Ja'Cory Krosky-Merritt, JCM, but JCM not nearly as efficient as White is, and the Commanders' defense is going to be dreadful, which means a lot of play from behind situations that favors White. There's 60, 70 catch appeal with him. You're getting him for nothing right now in drafts, and if you play in any form of points per reception, another guy that's got to profit and profit handsomely.
I have to agree with that thought, that when you consider cost, like where you can get Rachaad White versus Ja'Cory Krosky-Merritt, White is the superior value. And I played college football for a couple of years at Arizona State with Jaden Daniels, so there's a familiarity there. I like that thought on Rachaad White. Just in terms of, Brad, strategy when drafting this year, you're way deeper in this than me. Just my early impressions from doing this and a couple of best ball drafts. It feels like this year, the wide, and we'll get to receivers in a second in specific, but the wide receiver pool, let's call it rounds 3 and 4, even like rounds 3, 4, and 5, is so deep this year that it feels like, to me, the best approach at worst is to draft at least one running back in rounds 1 and 2 and probably take 2. Yeah. Like running back, and then take your receivers from there. It sounds like you agree with that strategy, running back heavy early. Like how do you want to approach that this year?
Well, I'm not married to any strategy. I'm usually married to what falls to me at whatever juncture of the draft it is. So, I'm not necessarily married to taking a running back or a wide receiver. It depends where I draft and who's going to be available on the board at that moment in time. Case in point, Scott Fish, you and I are participating in that exercise. Again, it's a super flex league, so quarterbacks are generally highly valued, but I was picking at 11. So near the turn, I went CeeDee Lamb at that juncture because you get premium points for reception. And then I turned around and I couldn't believe it because I was, entirely focused on either quarterback. It might have been Jaden Daniels at that point or possibly best wide receiver on the board. But the CMC Football Factory, Christian McCaffrey, fell to me in round 2. And I pounced.
Wow.
Like a panther.
That's crazy.
On that immediately. It's crazy because, people are skittish. People are scared. They recall 2 years ago and how he let everybody down with the bilateral Achilles tendonitis and the whole story behind that. But he bounced back, stormed back with the vengeance last year. I know he's an older back, a little bit long in the tooth, but again, you get premium points for receptions. So he was entirely an unbelievable value at that point in the draft. So that's just a case in point of how you go into a draft with an open mind and you let the values fall to you.
I'll just say, while acknowledging that's accurate, I think you have to leave the first 2 rounds of your draft with at least one running back. Like, have to.
I agree with that.
Yes. Absolutely, like, non-negotiable, have to take a running back in round 1 or round 2, if not both. What about the receiver position this year, Brad, and what stands out?
Yeah, look, I think you laid out a wonderful case for, approaching the position with a wait and see kind of in round 3, round 4, because you're right. There's a lot of premium pass catchers that are available at that point in the draft. Case in point, Emeka Egbuka. I know that he started off scorching, white, hot over the first half of the season last year. Then he was the antithesis of that from about week 11 on. A man that was trapped in Siberia. I think only one time he went over 70 yards in a game during that back half stretch, but I think he's going to be able to put everything together this season. He's going to be more of a king of consistency there in Tampa. Mike Evans went from the right coast bay to the left coast bay and is now with the San Francisco 49ers, so significant target share is going to be up for grabs now. I think Egbuka, you're getting right now on average at 43.08, a guy going outside the WR2 class in 12-team leagues, is going to finish at least as a top 15 wide receiver this season. And one other guy I say buy the hype on is Luther Burden of my Chicago Bears, going a couple of spots after Egbuka, an average RAS at 45.77. He's going to deliver. He's going to be the real deal Holyfield this year. Ben Johnson's been talking him up. He gets separation. He gets appreciable yak. He can do it all. And Rome Odunze has got that bum heel, which means I think Burden is going to be the clear-cut front runner among pass catchers, really 1A, 1B with him and Colston Loveland of this high-flying Bears offense with an emerging talent there, of course, in Caleb Williams.
Yeah, I don't like Rome Odunze this year, because think about what Brad just said. He's right. Like, Burden and Loveland seem to both be ahead of him in their hierarchy, and DeAndre Swift's there also. I think at best, Odunze is the 4th option in his own offense, and he's not being drafted like that. I'm off of Rome Odunze right now as to where he's being drafted. Brad, let's close with tight ends and your thought on that position.
Yeah, look, I'll give you a sleeper that I really like, a guy that's undervalued right now. Again, you're getting well after pick 100 as Isaiah Likely of the New York Giants.
Brad, I just took him in the Scott Fish Bowl to pair with Jackson Dart, making fantasy football great again. Let's go.
Yeah, and I also have Jackson Dart and Scott Fish, so you and I are 2 peas in the same pot. But
you got to get Likely to pair with him. That's the stack partner with Dart with Neighbors out, right?
Yeah, I wanted Likely. I actually invested in Neighbors. I'm gonna roll the dice and absorb the risk and hope he only misses a couple of games, it gets back on track. But Likely is going to have a breakout season. A guy that's really a plus-size slot option. And, of course, Wan'Dale Robinson was the man in that position last season. You saw what he did with the number of catches that he had. I mean, there's like 75 catch appeal with Isaiah Likely, and a lot of people aren't talking him up. You are, because you understand the Giants, you understand Harbaugh's tendencies, you understand the relationship and the experience that Harbaugh and Likely have together. And now there is an opportunity, and it is knocking, because we're getting all that negative news about Malik Neighbors. Let's say he starts the regular season on the PUP list, and he missed the first 4 weeks of the regular season. Again, I'm talking about Neighbors. Who's going to catch the damn rock? It's going to be predominantly Isaiah Likely. So if you're looking to get off to a white-hot start in your fantasy football league, maybe storm out to a 4-0 untouched record, Likely is going to be a key cog in achieving that feat.
Give me, Brad, one really scorching hot thought as it concerns, it could be just a general NFL thought, it could be a fantasy football thought that we have not yet discussed in this interview.
Yeah, look, here's a kind of a deep sleeper for you. Chris Rodriguez of the Jacksonville Jaguars.
No. We are, Brad, this is, you are encroaching right now. This is Bayshall rootin' scootin' tootin' territory here. This is the Bayshall tootin' hive is alive and well on this show. But you like the other option in Jacksonville in the backfield in Chris Rodriguez.
Well, this is going to be a scorching hot take then in your estimation. I think Chris Rodriguez outperforms rootin', scootin', tootin'. I know a lot of people are investing in Bashaw Tootin as a certifiable RB2. I think they're absolutely bat bleeping crazy investing that kind of draft capital in him in fantasy leagues.
Dude, Chris Rodriguez stinks, though, right?
Gremlin.
Can I just
no,
say,
he doesn't.
I just want to say this to the audience. Like, I respect Brad. Like, I disagree with him here, and like we're gonna disagree, and like we're gonna make fun of each other's opinions here. Like, I love Brad. I'm gonna give Brad obviously the opportunity to answer. Chris Rodriguez is not good at football, Brad. Like, I'm sorry, and a lot of people agree with you on this and disagree with me.
Yeah, I think it's because their numbers nerds like yours truly, and it verifies what you see on tape. He's a very good, I'm not saying exceptional by any means. He's not like a Derrick Henry type guy between the tackles. He can move the chains. He gets appreciable yards after contact per attempt. That's why he was top 15 in that category among qualifying running backs a season ago. He's got a little bit of shimmy. He's got a little shake, but most importantly, he's got the power more so than Tootin does. I think Rodriguez is going to carve out a significant, if not close to a full-time role in goal line packages and in red zone situations. So, yeah, he may not blow the doors off of the box score in terms of yards accumulated, but you may somewhat consistently get 40, 50, 60 combined yards and a touchdown from him. You're getting him for nothing right now in drafts. Meanwhile, you're paying that premium for Tootin. He's got to be a thorn in the side of your boy, Chris Rodriguez, at a much cheaper price for the win.
Yeah, this Jaguars offense all over the place this year. Like, where do you take Jacoby Myers? Where do you take Parker Washington? Where do you take Brian Thomas? Is Travis Hunter, Brendan Strange, Nate Borkercher, the tight ends? Like, what? It's all really fun. And we have a lot of time to get into it, Brad, over the course of the summer here. But great job on the show, my friend. Looking forward to you and Pat Boyle tonight and weeknights, 6 to 11 p.m. Eastern, BetMGM tonight on Westwood One Sports. Have a great show. We'll catch up soon.
I'll take the under in tonight's All-Star game, no matter the number. I'm out.
All right, so Brad Evans on the under tonight in the All-Star game. I'll bet the All-Star game, but it's going to be beer or pizza money for me on the All-Star game. My money today will be wrapped up in Le Bleu, the French. You know, France. Getting it done against La Roja. You know, Spain. I'll tell you how that match is going to go later this hour with France and Spain in the World Cup semifinal and how the French will emerge victorious. But on the other side, gotta be keeping a buck, as the kids would say. I don't think the Lakers are going to be great this year. I'll tell you why. Next.
process it yet. I mean, I kind of was thinking about it last night when I got here. Starting a season without him being on the team is going to be different for me. It's kind of all I've ever known is him being around, joking around, acting like he's 15. But that's his decision. And like I said, in Tahoe, and anytime we talk about it, I've got nothing but love and respect for him. And let's play some golf soon.
Now, back to You Better You Bet with Nick Kostos, presented by BetMGM on Westwood One Sports.
This segment on You Better You Bet sponsored by Progressive Commercial Insurance, protecting your business vehicles 24/7. See if you can save at progressivecommercial.com, progressivecommercial.com. So for people keeping score at home, I believe, Laura, we have gone from Who Shot Ya instrumental to Santeria by Sublime. So we are all over the musical map here with the rejoins on the show, and I have to be honest, I kind of love it. Santeria, tremendous song. And practice Santeria, I ain't got no crystal ball. Really good song. Imagine having $1 million and spending it all. It'd be bad. You want to keep your money. Like hopefully I do today with my bet on the French. The sound coming back from break, that of newly signed, and he has many, 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 many millions of dollars, Austin Reeves, who signed a 4-year, $180 million extension with the Lakers, actually left some money on the table to allow the Lakers a little bit more financial flexibility. So good job by Austin Reeves. And Reeves talking about the Lakers losing LeBron James. And, I thought the quotes from Reeves just on that topic were pretty cool. Reeves saying that LeBron acts like and he meant it as a compliment, not an insult, that LeBron acts like a 15-year-old in the locker room, like always busting chops and like engaging in games with his fellow teammates, and sounds really cool. And imagine that experience. You're Austin Reeves, who's like obviously not long in the tooth, coming up in the NBA playing with LeBron James, knowing LeBron is your teammate your whole career. Pretty, pretty, pretty cool. Well, we know that LeBron will not be a Laker this season. We expect him to sign with the Cleveland Cavaliers at some point before all of us die, before the meteor hits. We'll see. But we know LeBron won't be a Laker this season. And the Lakers have made their pivot. Now, we knew for quite some time, and I was saying it all season this year, like go back to November and December and January and February. I'm telling you, like, LeBron's not coming back. I couldn't believe that there were people that actually thought LeBron was coming back to the Lakers. The writing was on the wall here earlier this season because they had to pay Austin Reeves. Like, you can't let like a younger player in Austin Reeves walk so you can have a 40-plus-year-old LeBron James stick around, even if LeBron is a superior player at this point in his career, right? So you knew LeBron was going to walk, just like you knew, if you're paying attention, if you listen to this show, I try to tell you, this was always going to happen, that Austin Reeves was going to sign an extension with the Lakers. So 2 of the 3 or 4 big cogs on the Lakers were always going to be moving forward. Luka, obviously, the centerpiece and the foundation of the whole shebang, and Austin Reeves. The Lakers have now made their bed and have to lay in it with all the other moves they've made, not just for this year, but for a number of years to come as well. The Lakers, with the moves that they have made, which I will detail momentarily, have basically stripped themselves of financial flexibility and flexibility in terms of draft picks. The TLDR version of what I just said, this is their team, and there's really no way out of it. So it's Luka, and it's Austin Reeves, and here's Walker Kessler for the Snowtime Lakers. Walker Kessler coming over from the Utah Jazz for multiple first-round picks and a $130 million contract. So Walker Kessler does have, to be fair, a very, very high ceiling, and he is a good player and fits the Luka Doncic mold for what Luka obviously wants out of a big man, right? Which DeAndre Ayton was not giving them last year, and it's not even DeAndre Ayton's fault he's not that good. Walker Kessler at his height, and I'm not just talking his physical height when he is very tall, but at his ceiling, is really, really, really freaking good. Really good. The big problem with Walker Kessler is that he doesn't really play that often. Shoulder injury last year, played 5 games. 58 games the year before, 64 games the year before that. Again, coming off a big injury. Now, he says he's 100% healthy. No reason to doubt him. Just that, be sincere, right? I'm not, maybe he plays 82 games. Maybe he plays 78 games. I don't know. If you had to bet, do you think he's going to miss time this year? And I'm not rooting for injury. That's not what this is. But look, we're talking sports, right? We're trying to project what we think is going to happen. To me, Kessler, because it's not just like you sign him and give him the money. You're trading draft capital, right? And in doing this, and Luka making what he makes and is going to make, and he's Luka Doncic, right? He deserves it. Just saying. He's going to be making a bleep ton of money. Reeves makes a ton. Kessler makes a ton. You've traded a bunch of picks. Like, you're stuck. This is their team. Also signed Quentin Grimes, Sandro Mamishkashvili. I hope I pronounced that correctly. Colin Sexton. So what the Lakers have tried to do is kind of create a facsimile of the Mavericks team that Luka took to the NBA championship in 2024, right? That had a couple good rim runners and good big men, and Gafford and PJ Washington. Now here's Walker Kessler, and to surround him with shooting. And it does feel like they've done a pretty decent job of that. And we'll talk at some point in this show or maybe tomorrow about what happened while I was on vacation, the LaMelo Ball trade from Charlotte to Minnesota, and how you're kind of like reaching for upside, right? And the Wolves have to try and keep Anthony Edwards happy to keep him in town. And there's an element of that with the Lakers and Luka, where this is the team that Luka wants to play with. He obviously signed off on all these decisions. And you need to keep him happy. You need to keep him in Los Angeles for the long haul. You bet on this Tuesday. Nick Kostos and you on Westwood One Sports. I think the issue that the Lakers are going to have this year, and the reason why I don't think the Lakers are going to be as good this year as they were last year, first off, LeBron James isn't on the team. And LeBron, even in his advanced age, is still a top 20, 25 player in the league. I want someone to show me, and I understand what you'll say, that LeBron at this point in his career is not exactly in his prime Scottie Pippen. Where is the defense coming from on this team? Where's it coming from? How are they stopping anybody? How's it happening? How's it happening? Now, that Luka Mavericks team that went to the finals and then got smoked by the Celtics in the NBA Finals, that Mavericks team, and I'm not looking to like relitigate the run that they had. I guess I will a little bit, right? Think about the Western Conference that year, where you had Denver as the clear favorite, yacked away Game 7 at home to the Minnesota Timberwolves, and the Wolves, built by Tim Connolly, who was formerly with Denver, were literally constructed to beat the Nuggets, which was great because they beat Denver, but then they were not constructed to beat Dallas in the next round, and the Mavericks handled them in the Western Conference Final. To Dallas and Luka's credit that year, they did beat the Oklahoma City Thunder in the second round, and the Thunder had home court in that series. They were the 1 seed. I think it's fair to say, though, the Thunder were a little early at that point, right? Won the championship the next year. I say this to say, it is my sincere doubt. I can be wrong, but I think I'm right. And I think when I explain this, you'll agree with me. It is my sincere doubt that the Mavericks will have, or Luka, not the Mavericks, but Luka will have a path like that to the NBA Finals at any point in the near future. Oklahoma City's still around, but they've won a championship and lost a Game 7 at home in the Western Conference Final. Be honest, which team's better? Even if you're a big Laker fan and you've got the purple and gold sunglasses on, kind of a weird fashion choice. Which team's better? The Thunder or the Lakers? It's obviously OKC, right? Obviously. Okay. What team's better? San Antonio or the Lakers? It's a silly question. Of course it's the Spurs. Now let's make it a little more interesting. The Denver Nuggets, who I think still have a move to be made this summer, we'll see. The Nuggets or the Lakers. I'd take Denver. Minnesota or the Lakers. And I'm pretty high on Minnesota this year. I like the LaMelo Ball trade for both Minnesota and Charlotte. We'll get to that later in the show. I'll take Minnesota. So you can disagree. And the point of this is not that the Lakers are going to be bad. They're not going to be bad. They have Luka Doncic. And if Luka's going to be healthy, they're going to win in the high 40s or in the 50s. Like they're going to be a playoff team. I'm not saying JJ Redick, I think, is proven to be a good coach. They're not going to be bad. But the Lakers, like the Yankees, and say whatever you want to say about these teams, but it's true. The Yankees, the Cowboys, these premier bedrock franchises in American sports, like the 5 seed or the 4 seed and a first or second round exit is not the point. It shouldn't be the point for any team, but it's especially not the point for the Lakers. What's their ceiling? What is it? Like to lose in the second round to the Thunder or the Spurs? Is that the ceiling? It feels to me like that's the ceiling. Or maybe they get lucky and make the Western Conference Final and get smoked by OKC or San Antonio. I don't even think that's going to happen. I don't see it happening. And they can't change it. Like they don't have the flexibility. They don't have the draft capital. So they better hope that all these role players that they brought in, that they have the goods. They better hope that the Baylor player Cameron Carr that they took in the first round, that he's got the goods. And to be fair, he's been good at Summer League. Can you ever get something out of the young players on the team that are carried over from last year to this year? They need it. Because if they don't get it, they're DOA. And I kind of think they're DOA anyway. Not saying they're going to miss the playoffs. They'll make it. But are they one of the best 4 teams in their own conference? I would argue no. Westwood One Sports on this Tuesday. On the other side, I will tell all of you how France will beat Spain today in the World Cup semifinal and advance to Sunday's championship game. Here, presented by BetMGM.
Now, back to You Better You Bet with Nick Kostos, presented by BetMGM on Westwood One Sports.
It's time for the world's top stars to go head-to-head on the pitch, and we've got it today. France and Spain in the World Cup semifinal. Grab today's Odds Boost token with our friends at BetMGM. Join the excitement and make your World's Game moment. Activate your token for any World's Game bet, and you'll receive a bigger payout if your bet wins. Download the BetMGM app today, and as always, please gamble responsibly. So I've been thinking a lot about this France-Spain semifinal. I am invested in France from before the tournament, and I, like many others, it's the chalk prediction. So it wasn't like, you go out on a limb if you say France and Spain's going to be the semi on that side of the bracket. That's what it turned out to be, but I've been expecting this since before the tournament. Again, a lot of people did as well. Not trying to pat myself on the back for that particular take. And I have felt, before the tournament started for a long time, that France is the best team. But I've also been careful to note that Spain is the 1B to France's 1A. Like, I do think France is better, but Spain's the second best team in this tournament. And that the winner, so if Spain wins today, I'm picking Spain to beat England or Argentina in the World Cup final. And Spain can obviously win, but I don't think they will. So I've been considering, how is France going to win this game if the French win? So back in the Euro semifinal a couple of years ago, a game that France lost 2-1. Talked about it with DeBundo yesterday. France go up 1-0 early. Spain take a 2-1 lead and choke the game out in the second half. France basically couldn't do anything with the ball. They were playing too defensively. Didier Deschamps, the France manager, criticized heavily for that. Okay, we go to the Nations League semi last year. Spain are up 5-1 in the second half before a furious France comeback falls just short, but France scored 4 on Spain in that game. Now, this Spanish defense has been like the 85 Bears of soccer in this. They've conceded 1 goal thus far in this tournament. When I objectively handicap this game and think about how it's going to go, my sense is that France's overwhelming superiority in attack is going to make the difference. And this is an instance where, and like we talk about in sports all the time, that defense wins championships, not when an offense is as good as this French offense. And an attack is as good as this French attack. And that trident with Olise, who's been the breakout star of this World Cup with Mbappe and Dembele, that's sick. Like, they're scoring in this game. And the French defense is better than it was last year and 2 years ago. I think France win inside the 90. And I like that price at BetMGM. Allez, les Bleus. Final hour, power hour coming up on the other side, and we will start it with a special guest. My fellow Fordham Ram, the legendary Tony Reale, joins Nick Kostos next on Westwood One Sports.
Now, back to You Better You Bet with Nick Kostos, presented by BetMGM on Westwood One Sports.
Bring it up, Laura. Final hour. Power hour. You better you bet on Westwood One Sports. Nick Kostos, our unbelievable crew, Tony Reale, and you. The Power Hour and every hour here on You Better You Bet, brought to you by BetMGM. Make it legendary by downloading the BetMGM app and visiting BetMGM.com.
Power Hour.
So for people watching the show, Tony Reale is with us here. The legend, Tony Reale from ESPN. He's got his new show coming out, which we will get to momentarily. I was now look, I work out, I eat right, I'm in pretty good shape. I flex sometimes on camera. I did it a little more than usual because coming back from break, Tony, who is also in great shape, I just said I'm in great shape. I complimented myself. Thank you very much to me. You said that I'm a little jacked, man, so I felt like I had to flex a little bit, man. I appreciate it.
I had to go completely 180. What was it? What is Macho Man's? 360, 180, I had to completely, I was doing triathlons. I was doing CrossFit. I needed something to tire my body out. My energy runs high. So that's how everything in my life pointed to work as hard as you can in the gym too. And I was pulling muscles, getting stuff out of the refrigerator, and I was just too tightly wound. I was the top of a tuna can. So I've gone the opposite way. I love what I'm doing now, functional patterns. I'm moving like 1 inch every 10 seconds with like 1 pound of weight, and I'm just, I'm in the gym, and it's more postural. It's about movement. I shouldn't say it's postural. So that's what I'm doing now. I would recommend it to you. Here's what I had a problem. I did my first episode of the new show, and I'm relaxed like you are. And then I'm looking at myself. I'm like, should I be flexing while I'm on the show here? Because I can see, I'm wearing. Yes, it's too much. Drink water too. And if you're like me, put it in a flower base and drink water like this.
The answer, should I flex? The answer to that question is always yes, presuming you're in good shape. But I'm being serious because I would watch you on ESPN doing Around the Horn. I'd be like, what was? And I'm looking at you right now. What is your body fat?
No, I know. But I use that. Come on now. We're not going to start. Let's start like this, Nick. All right. This has been too long coming.
No, but
all right?
I'm being
because
go ahead.
For me to get on a show with you, I had to have a complete career pivot and all these sorts of things. Let me be honest. I've said this to you before because we've known each other for some time. I was trying to get you on Plasma 4 and Around the Horn for years. And then there was no reason why it didn't happen other than just doors don't open. It wasn't like we said he was too good looking and that's what it is. But I mean, I
had heard that.
Yeah, you've heard. I love it. I love you. And I love the way you come out swinging. And I just thought you would be great on Around the Horn and Plasma 4. And now, I'm on to the next one, and it's great to finally be on a set with you because we're separated by a few years, and we didn't go a WFUV at the same time.
Yeah, so Tony graduated Fordham in 2000. My freshman year was 2001, so we just missed each other, but both of us are proud Fordham Revs. Would you have, assuming that I had been on Around the Horn, do you think? Do you think you would have worn out that mute button or no?
Oh yeah, I mean, Woody Page has the all-time record for mutes. Frank Isola was putting a good run into it the last 5 years. But yeah, I appreciate. So the name of the show is You Better You Bet. Okay, I get it. All right. Did you name it after the song?
So this is a true story.
Yeah.
I'm sitting with, he was then the president of sports for Entercom, which is the former name of the company, now Odyssey, Mike D, who ran the Dolphins and ran the Red Sox and the San Diego. Great guy. Still talk to him to this day. And we're sitting, it was like an episode of Seinfeld. We're sitting there, and the contract is in front of me. Yeah. And I'm about to sign the contract to be the host of the show. And he goes to me, and we're going to call the show You Better You Bet.
Okay.
The Who song. And I had this thought for a moment. Like, am I actually not am I not going to sign this contract right now because the name of the show is so bad? So that I've grown to love it. It's become like a brand unto itself. I actually pitched them at the Super Bowl this year. I said, should we change the name of the show since we have a format change? And they're like, no, we're going to keep it. So I'm stuck with it in perpetuity. So there's the answer to your question.
But I mean, this is my long way of saying is, I mean, if you were in Plasma 4 and Horn, I would love for you to have played the angle that you're playing here, which is not even an angle. I mean, I'm just saying you're somebody who sees the world in spreads and sees the world in parlays and sees the world in certain ways. And I think that would have been, you've been walking into a mute every day because, I mean, 55% win rate is incredible for you, right? And,
right.
And around the horn, that's not going to happen. So that's all I would say.
You're such an interesting dude, right? And I'm not just saying that because we know each other and because you say very nice things about me, which I appreciate. But you've always been this way. And you said it to me off air, but I think people that follow you on social and watched you on TV for a long time, you are an open book. And you are really honest, not just and it's a great quality, not just about your career, but about your life, right? And you said something really interesting off air and then said something interesting on air, right? Which was, and basically the theme is, you were holding on so tight for so long. Now, you have not said this to me, I am guessing. But I'm guessing that in this time, and we'll get into the new show, right? But the time in between Around the Horn ending and this new show starting probably has been like kind of cathartic for you to let go. Now, I'm putting words in your mouth. I'm guessing you feel that way. What has life been like from you in this period of time?
Maybe today you would call it cathartic. It was a challenge for me. I've been working on stillness, like I just told you, my movement, my process. But this is real. First off, I'm a big feeler, and I knew that since I was 5 years old. For as far back as I can remember, I wanted to be a sportscaster, I wanted to be a dad, I wanted to be a big feeler. These are things, and for me, it's one and the same with sports. Sports is about feeling, and that connection you have to your favorite players and to the games, and you can approach it any number of ways. I love doing daily sports debate. It was part of who I was and how I grew up, but it's not the only part of me. And I wanted to uncrack what that was. Why do I cry when I watch sports highlights? I just did my first episode today. Who launches a show and does it in a sport I never covered, nor ever watched really? It's swimming. It's Jason Lezak in the Olympics. And I talked to the guy who announced the race because I thought, this is the guy who makes me cry. When I hear his voice announce a race that I had no rooting interest in other than USA, go team, it makes me cry. Am I doing this show as therapy? You use the therapy word, and I am a proponent of mental health, or an advocate of mental health, and a proponent of talk therapy. I believe in getting that stuff out as the most.
I do it, and I've talked about that on the air. I talk to it not every week now, but I've definitely done it. I did it like 2 weeks ago.
And I believe when stuff doesn't come out and you bottle it in, it has a way of metastasizing, to use a very serious word, into something different, And I was experiencing that in my own life. And once I did experience it, I had a platform. I said, I went through something. There's no point in going through something if you're not going to then help somebody else who may be going through something at some point. And that's how I've kind of tried to think of it. So I'm a happy, optimistic, positive person, yes. And I'm not trying to say I went through things that were unique to the human race. They weren't, but I want to share that. And that's the type of person I think I am. And I will like to do that on this show a little bit more than I could on Around the Horn, I think is what I'm trying to say.
Who's crazier, me or you?
Oh, you're definitely crazier. I can't. I have learned to live in this little space where I want to control the things. You asked me my last year, how hard was it? Control the things you can control, which is very little, but you can control how you respond. Having something end is a natural occurrence of life around the horn. And I loved it. And losing something you love can feel a certain way. It can hurt a certain way. I sat in those feelings and I allowed them to be full feelings and be proud of what it was and recognize that it ended for the reasons it did. I had no control over it, but control how you respond. Well, you have an agreement in sports where you like to watch sports and cheer for your teams, but also you have an interest that you want to see how the outcome, and if you can predict an outcome. That is the single most thing you can't control.
Right.
How do you respond to that? How do you control how you respond to something that is so out of your control? You're crazier than I am because I can't play that game. I had to give up fantasy.
Oh, man, no, It's so funny you say that, right? Because that's like the thing my wife says to me more than anything else is I'm being serious. You need to stop playing fantasy football. Because it'll like
does it affect
my
your
son
home life?
my
Because it
Sundays
affects yeah.
in 2019, just as an aside, it's the first year, me and my wife's first year of You Better You Bet. We're watching Cardinals Steelers. It was the 4 o'clock, one of the afternoon games. Duck Hodges was starting for the Steelers. And I bet on Arizona.
Never should be said. Okay, go ahead, please.
It was the first time that I melted down in front of my now wife. I lost control, full meltdown, watching the Cardinals lose as 3-point home underdogs to Duck Hodges and the Steelers.
Does she get it? Is she a sports fan? Is she a fantasy player? Is she somebody who watches sports that way? I
think that if it weren't for me, maybe yes, but because of me, the answer is way in the other direction and no. Absolutely. Rooted for the Knicks was the extent of it on this run to the championship.
Well, this is incredible.
Would watch the fourth quarters.
You've given somebody a Staten Island born and bred girl, right? So now she can inflict pain on you and bring that up whenever it affects your home. I got to a place where fantasy affected my personal home life, and I want to be a kind person. And I was having thoughts about the guys who were failing me, right? I mean, and that was a complete cut. I had to cut it out of my life. So what I'm trying to do in the new show is get into the moments, those sports moments that are irresistible to me, that stay in my head, but bring out full feelings, but maybe not that full fantasy feeling I'm talking about.
Yeah, and the show is Real Deal, and it's YouTube, wherever you find your podcasts, and you've kind of laid out the ethos of the show and kind of like the foundation of the show. So I guess, because you mentioned your first guest being like a swimming play-by-play announcer, right? And how love that
NBC Olympics broadcasting coverage, someone I never knew. Here, I wanted some surprising authorities to be my guest for the first start of the show. I'm still finding my footing. I'm experimenting, Nick. I can be honest with you with this. I have the idea. I want to get into those moments that bang around in my head. The moment I see that comes up in my feed, and that I want to send the group chat immediately. Those. Yes, this is my phone.
Yes, Ray Liotta laughing at Goodfellas. Yeah.
So the moments that there's something odd about how we view sports now, right? You're not just watching the game. It's you're watching your feed, and a sports moment comes up, and you're reliving it immediately. I want to relive the feeling I had then and see if the feeling now is any different or what I learned.
So let's talk about feelings for a second as it concerns sports, because I think people can say whatever they want about me. Yeah. One thing you can't say is that I don't feel and that I don't have passion for this stuff. So, feelings can go in a number of different directions. And you brought up one where this race brought you to tears and made you feel something in that regard. Yeah. Is that really where you're going with this, those type of moments, or could this be
are you looking to? I'd love to.
Something that made you mad, for instance, watching it?
I don't want this show just to be my own version of therapy, and I'm going to be doing. I just recorded an episode where I want to deal with a more surreal moment. It's World Cup time, and Leo Messi finally got his cup. He got his crown. And who's on the field with him minutes later, taking the cup out of his hands? Salt Bay. It's just an absurd moment. There's a photo that lived out there, again, that's in my phone. I have photos in my phone that I keep. And I'm just staring at Salt Bay taking a selfie with Leo Messi on the field. I'm like, well, here's an episode I want to unpack. I want to unpack the main character syndrome here that's involved with Salt Bay getting on there. So yeah, I absolutely will think of the biggest sports moments that stay in my memory that I did on Around the Horn, but some of them are the more human moments. I want that. I want this show to stay in that space for a little while as I experiment to what it is, because I think it's universal. I really believe we feel that connection to sports where it's almost like I was in the picture, with in today's episode, Jason Lezak, Michael Phelps, and Rowdy Gaines. I was at the edge of my seat screaming at the TV when it happened, and I still imagine myself as Michael Phelps screaming at the victory.
I'm almost embarrassed to admit this, because we've known each other for a lot. I've watched you on TV for a long time. I don't know what kind of sports fan you are, which is, and I don't mean that to say you don't feel something when you watch. Do you still watch sports and root for the teams that you rooted for growing up?
When I was 20. I mean, I was a cry when the Yankees lose.
Now that's unhealthy. Now you want to talk
that's
unhealthy.
But I'm
still
saying,
like when you're 20, because I used to cry after the Giants would lose regular season games. That's unhealthy.
I had 2 moments in my life that changed me. I can get the exact moment. Yankees lose to Cleveland in '97. I'm at
Jose
Fordham.
Mesa.
Jose Mesa and O'Neal's ball, was on a line and it hits the wall.
Sandy Alomar, that jerk.
Sandy Alomar, right, exactly. So that's the '97 series. And I went over to our great grass at Fordham, Eddie's Parade, and I overturned benches that were on Eddie's Parade at 12:07 a.m. because Jose Mesa just closed out the Yankees. And then there was a second one that was even when I was older, a little bit out of school. And it was, I thought Mariano Rivera struck out Todd Pratt, I think it was, in a Subway Series mid-July, in 2001, I think it is. And on a pitch that was right below the strike zone. And that was it. That was a moment where I was so upset about sports that I had to change the type of fan I was. Get to PTI, and I'm watching spring training Cubs with Mike Wilbon, and it's the third inning, and he's upset about a pitch. And I couldn't comprehend that he was still doing it at that stage. And he is still that fan, but I could not be that fan anymore. I couldn't be that fan as a person. I couldn't be that fan on TV. I was, maybe more in a mold where I didn't want to wear the jersey on TV. That wasn't me. I wasn't that type of fan. So it did change for me by extension of my job, but also because I had in my head 2 outsized reactions where I was physically overturning furniture over losses, and I didn't want to be that person.
I don't know if I'm guessing yes, that you're a Knicks fan. I don't know that that's the answer, but
I
even if you're
Jersey in my middle age, I became a Nets fan because I can get tickets. We had a White Castle package going to the New Jersey Nets, and this is prime Kerry Kittles, Derek Coleman, Kenny Anderson. We had the White Castle package. And you'd get a 10 sack, and then you would get like 10 tickets over the season. And I couldn't get Knicks tickets in the 90s, and we had moved to Jersey by then anyway. So, I grew up a Nets fan.
Even though that's the case, I'm guessing this Knicks run made you feel something, right?
Oh, absolutely.
Given everything that they accomplished.
Team. It made everybody feel something. The city was electric. I went out to watch parties, the pregame watch party, and I thought it was beautiful, especially because this was the team. I always get the Batman expression wrong, when they say this is the hero we needed, not the hero we deserve, or vice versa.
Something like that,
it always confused me when it's delivered. This was the team the city deserved and the city needed, right? There was such a good mix of bootstrap grit. There was such a great mix of solidarity. The Villanova connection is a beautiful connection too. Brunson being a son of a former Knick and a coach. All these things. This was the team you wanted to do it with, not some dream team that came together because LeBron just decided in his decision to land in New York. And then we got Durant because they were on a banana boat. And then Chris Paul came over. It wasn't some Frankensteinian team. It was a team that came in a way that a lot of New Yorkers came. People have been incredibly poetic about it. And I believe everything. You've said this yourself, that the Knicks are different than the Yankees. The Yankees are a big, beautiful, pinstripe suit wearing monolith in some ways, and they have earned everything they've earned. But there are 35% Mets fans, 40% in town, and the Knicks were everybody. And even though I moved to Jersey and became a Nets fan, it still felt part of my blood, And the way that team came together, there was a family feel to it. And when you're here, you're family.
What is that? Are you trying to be a server at the Olive Garden
now?
No,
I think you've done pretty well in your career.
You're from Staten Island to Brooklyn. These are dirty words in these parts to say when you're here, your family. You bet on this Tuesday. The legendary Tony Reale, our guest, Real Deal with Tony Reale, is the new show. So I have chills right now.
Oh yeah,
because as you're talking, I'm doing a bad job as a host because I'm listening to you. I can multitask, and I'm thinking. Because I'm thinking, okay, what would be a couple moments for me as a sports fan that would fall under this umbrella of content?
Let's do this.
So 2 have come to mind for me. Number 1 would be So the Giants take the lead against the Patriots in Super Bowl 42 on the Plaxico Burress touchdown.
Mm-hmm.
The Patriots get the ball one more time, right? On their ill-fated, 4 downs, right? And then Belichick, literally walks off the field before time expires.
Right.
Tom Brady gets sacked on 2nd down by Jay Alford. The Patriots call timeout. It's we're going to win the Super Bowl. On 3rd down, Tom Brady rolls out to his right from his own 15-yard line and throws what I believe to be the greatest pass in the history of the NFL.
Yes.
Like 70 yards on a rope to Randy Moss. And Corey Webster barely, because he's catching that ball and the Patriots are going undefeated and win this. And I remember the ball being in the air, and it lasted a month. That play lasted a month to me. As I have chills right now thinking about it. That is a really good one. I mean, I love this concept for that reason, because it forced to think about these moments, right?
Yeah, I mean, I had now. I'll be honest with you. I sat in my thoughts of what I wanted to do, and I knew it.
Can I give you one more? Can I give you one more quickly?
Okay, please. Yeah.
The feeling that I had during the closing minutes of Cavs Warriors Game 7 in 2016. Because if you go back and watch, the game was tied at 89. It felt like for 20 minutes of real time. No team could make a shot. You had the chase down block of Iguodala, and Kyrie makes the 3 eventually. I have chills right now thinking about it because I watched that game on the edge of my seat. So there's a couple
for me,
couple
that's
for
a great
me
game.
here,
That would the moment I would, and I like to start with one particular image. This is how I see the world again. I'm seeing it in one image. For me, the block, that would be an incredible. You could do a documentary on the block. You could do a documentary on Kyrie's shot, and I'm trying to even think even more microscopic than that.
Love that.
Right?
I love it.
And for me, it's literally the ball behind the back of Steph Curry as he's making a turnover in one of the key moments of this game, as he's lost his handle, but it's also behind the back pass. And I want to get how I would deconstruct that is, here you are, Steph Curry, you're one of the greatest of all time, and you're in a moment here where the ball's getting away from you, the game's getting away from you, a series that you needed to win is getting away from you, and there's a behind the back pass involved, or behind the back dribble involved, that turnover. And I would unpack that in any sorts of ways. And it doesn't need to be, I need to talk to Steph Curry about it. I want to talk to the fan who lived it and died it in that exact moment, or the reporter who covered it. I'm trying to find surprising authorities because there's their universality of that. And how Steph Curry felt about it, of course, is a great story to tell. But so is the fan. And what you said about Webster and that ball there, and he's breaking it up, that's, again, some of our biggest moments or the things we remember in sports aren't just the biggest play. And I want to play in those slightly different ones for a little while until you can never run out of moments, and then get to the big ones after that.
Can I give you one more? Sorry to turn it into this, but you'll love this based on what we talked about earlier in the interview. The one time that I saw, my father passed away in 20, was a huge sports fan. The one time that I saw him tear up watching sports, and it made me tear up, after the Yankees won Game 4 of the 99 World Series, the entire team surrounds Paul O'Neill. Mm-hmm. Because that morning, Paul O'Neill's father passed away, the morning of Game 4 of that World Series. And the entire team, because they win the World Series, and they all surround O'Neill. And it's a celebration, but it's also this moment where the teammates and Joe Torre and the staff, everyone in that moment is uplifting this Yankee warrior whose father literally died that morning. It was the one time I saw my dad. My dad cried watching that.
That's a beautiful memory. Thank you for sharing that. And that's what I'm trying to unlock here. I mean, we all have those moments. And it's a
great concept, man.
It's about where you were when you watched it, who you were with, just as much as it is about Paul O'Neill, and just as much as it is about the Yankees winning that. I was on the field minutes after that because I was covering that game.
That's a human story. That's less like baseball.
Story.
This is a guy has lost his dad. That's the story. That's what it is.
And now we have lost people in our lives, all right? And now you're thinking about it, and there's a circularity to that because that was Paul O'Neill's dad. Now it's you and your dad. And connecting that, there is a beauty to connecting that circle. And I'm going to try. I'm going to try to connect it. Is there an investigation into my feelings or my guest's feelings on any particular day? That's one goal for it. But I just want to, I love a podcast, and I want to say thank you. An inspiration for me is rewatchables on the Ringer universe, and Sean and Chris. I love those guys. I don't know them at all. I feel like I love those guys. And they rewatch movies and they talk about it. You can feel the love and you can feel the expertise. I'm more in the relivables business here. I want to relive that moment and that feeling and unpack that with somebody else who lived that moment and feeling, and then appreciate the human of it, because it's a full feeling, right? Just the good, the bad, and we'll play some games along the way. I love trivia. And in future life, I am going to be doing sports game shows as well. I'm going to start with simply irresistible questions in every episode that you can't know, but I want to see how you reason out.
I have two more for you, because the trivia thing sparked something else. I'm sorry, because you've already been with us twice. You've been very generous with your time. Can you please give us, because you already shared one of the episode topics, right? Yeah. Give us a little taste of another moment that you'll be breaking down on Real Deal with Tony Reale, the new show.
This one is more in the sports world. Carlos Beltran, I feel, and this will be a theme I'm going to explore throughout many, many episodes.
Is this the Wainwright strikeout in the 06 NLCS Game 7? Yeah. The greatest pitch ever thrown. Is that pitch from Adam Wainwright?
Charlie Kerr, okay?
Yeah.
So Carlos Beltran, and this is the theme I want to explore, is when we blame our players, because this is personal to me. I blamed fantasy players. This is why I don't play. I didn't want to be the person who did that anymore, but it's a natural feeling to be like, Carlos Beltran got caught looking, right? Or were we caught looking for someone to blame? Now, I know I just made that into poetry, and I've turned this into an art form, but all I'm saying is, okay, as a Mets fan, I'm not, but I was somebody who was very close to that series, watching that series as a huge baseball fan. And I'm thinking, how can you go down looking in Game 7 of the National League Championship Series? Do you know what Carlos Beltran's postseason OPS was at the time of that pitch, the second before that pitch? You don't know, but this would be my simply irresistible question.
Well, because he had that run, was it when he got traded to the Astros,
he was the
right?
Greatest postseason hitter in baseball history,
dude.
At that exact moment.
He had a moment where
he was going to shrink from the moment.
Yeah.
But in the eye of Mets fans and baseball fans, I would start with that image. The image is incredible because our president's now, our current president, Trump's in the background with an incredibly long tie, and he's watching it. So the image, this is the stuff that's sticking in your brain, right? So how could the greatest postseason hitter of all time go down looking? Not even Swift. And I would unpack it in a number of different ways, from his view, from a journalist's view maybe. And this is a future episode that I'm going to do. I'm going to ask you right now, or I'm going to tell you right now, because I've unpacked this, and maybe I'm scooping my episode. In the rest of his career, Carlos Beltran never failed to reach base against Adam Wainwright. So here he is. He's attached to a moment. He's going into the Hall of Fame next week.
It's the greatest pitch ever thrown. I don't know what else to say. It's the greatest curveball ever.
And it was the greatest curveball ever. And then there's a story with the Wainwright. If I were not to approach it from Beltran, Wainwright. What's amazing about this is that's not just about Beltran, even though I just sold it like that. That's Wainwright to Molina, which proved to be the battery of all batteries in baseball history. But it was Wainwright as a closer because he was a rookie. And now imagine Beltran. And this is like an oral history. You can almost put it together. Maybe the show's like this. But imagine Beltran, greatest postseason hitter ever. Oh, I've got a rookie closer now coming against me. What do I know about him? What's the book on him? Oh, he's a fastball slider guy. Why? Well, he was a slider guy in the minors, and it turned into a curveball as he was tinkering with it. And maybe the book for Beltran in that moment wasn't updated. And now he sees a pitch he didn't even know existed in that at-bat because Wainwright was so early in his career in developing his curveball. Sports has moments like this. There's depth to them. And the headline may have been Beltran was caught looking. But for me, I want to unpack whether we were looking for someone to blame, whether it was just a incredible curveball like you've taken away with, and that's the type of story I would like to do, and that's a future episode right there, unless I just scooped it.
How about the fact that Andy Chavez is one of the great catchers in the history of Major League Baseball in that game?
It doesn't get lost.
But yes and no. I guess the fact that we're talking about it means that we still remember it, but it kind of lost to history a little bit. Okay, we'll close with this. And then we'll promote the show one more time. You said you like yourself some sports trivia. I have been known to fancy myself a little sport. Now listen, I will toot my own horn. You put me in a room with 99 other sports fans, I'm winning the trivia competition. Now, you may be one of those people as well.
No, not anymore. No, I will mute my own horn. You just tooted your own horn.
Okay.
I'm such a hack. Go ahead, please. Go ahead.
Bill Zimmerman, our executive producer, we do a trivia question at the end of the show because I think it's good content, B, because it's an ego thing for me because I usually get the question right. So I don't know what the question is today. Bill, I would love for you to ask myself and Tony the question and see if these Fordham Rams can figure it out.
All right. I don't think this is the toughest trivia question today, Nick, but I will give it to the two of you anyway. With the Midsummer Classic coming up tonight, there are 4 active baseball players that have been at 10 or more All-Star games. Can you name the 4?
Would you like to go first?
You know what? We can do the draft version. You can go first. I'll go second. I'll go third. You go fourth. Let's see if we can get
Trout.
Mike Trout with 12, leading the way.
Mike Trout with 12. Okay. 4 active. Let's see. I'm going to put Freddie Freeman on there.
Freddie Freeman has 10.
Okay, so we're going to do a snake. You go third, and I'll go fourth.
No, I didn't mean to do that. Yeah, I don't know why I was thinking like that. You can go back to three. Let's see if we can go 4 for 4 here. I'll take the hardest one, the fourth one.
You know what? You go next here because I'm struggling.
Well, I'm going to throw out a name who I think is the most underrated player of this generation, and maybe I am overrating him because I'm saying he got the 10. Jose Ramirez.
Jose Ramirez does not have 10. I will have to look up and see how many he has.
The most underrated, overrated player of this generation now that I just gave him 10.
But you know what, though? If your name's Jose and you play for the Cleveland Guardians or Indians, we don't like you here on the show based on our earlier discussion. Would you like to fathom one more guess? Hazard one more guess.
7 for Ramirez, by the way.
7 for Ramirez. Underrated. Still, I stand by that. Well, we're not there with any of the younger. So somebody's got to be in their late 40s. Justin Verlander's an easy answer. I should have said.
Verlander has to be right.
10.
So
Verlander had to be right.
One more.
We should have started.
That's a good one. Bryce Harper.
Bryce Harper at 9.
Ooh. I thought I.
So we have Trout, we have Verlander, and we have Freddie Freeman. And who's an old?
Freeman was a good pull. I would not have said Freddie Freeman. That's a nice job.
I saw him last night at the Derby with his son, so I was thinking about Freddie Freeman.
This last one is a very notable player, but I thought it was the most difficult of the 4.
Do you want to give us a division?
I'll give you a position, pitcher.
Yeah, you see, that's where I wasn't starting. Well, Kershaw, Scherzer, Greinke, and Verlander were the old guys for the last 4 years. And who's still active of those? Technically, is Scherzer still active?
He is, right?
Yeah, he's still active. He does not have 10. I believe he's at 9 as well.
So who's the answer, Bill?
The answer is the Atlanta Brave, Chris Sale.
Oh, wow. He's got more than Scherzer.
He's got 10.
That's I'm proud to have not gotten that one because that is legitimately a difficult. Chris Sale is a great final answer there. Jose Ramirez is still underrated though. Very underrated.
What is your favorite your best sport for trivia?
Oh, baseball for sure. And, I wrote trivia questions for 2 Minute Drill, which is Kenny Mayne trivia game show that predated Stump the Schwab, which was an excellent
I watched it. I watched it.
Oh, yeah, you did? Okay.
I watched it.
It was a little bit more historical, but I remember being in bed and coming up with questions and having a notepad next to your bed. And this is what we used to do. We used to write things on notepads. Who was on deck when Bobby Thompson hit the shot heard around the world? Willie Mays. And all these things. I have but you know what happened? It was kids for me. Kids sapped every bit of trivia out of my body. And I'm not embarrassed to not get Chris Sale here. That is a legitimate great answer. Zimmerman, good job out of you.
Real Deal with Tony Reale. Yes. YouTube in podcast form. You're the best, dude. Hopefully we get to do this more often. You know what? Honestly, if you're gonna flop, I'll flex a little bit.
No, man, you're bringing more heat than I am.
even though, if we're being honest, you failed in getting me on around the horn, and that's okay.
Yes, that was an L for me. And I wasn't trying to call my shot, but I told you in advance. I told you afterwards. I said, I'm trying. This is something I'm trying to do. I wanted to have somebody who saw the world in spreads and parlays. But we'll do this at another time.
You're the man. Thank you very much. Stay well. We'll talk soon.
Man.
Real deal with Tony Reale. What a good dude. He said, I think he might be a little crazier than me. And I'm crazy. But I mean, his energy is like my. I don't meet people like that often. Where I'm like, oh, I believe like the Spider-Man meme. Have I met my equal here in terms of energy? Great stuff from Tony Reale. Real deal with Tony Reale. YouTube podcast form. Watch it. Check it out. One of the nicest guys. One of the most talented guys, and smartest and knowledgeable. You saw that trivia answer in the business. All right, we'll take a break. I don't know what the hell we're doing on the other side. Probably some more National Football League here on You Better You Bet.
They'll go from the gun. P. Ryan in the backfield. Burrow trying to keep it going, gets spun down, gets it away, and incomplete. It looked like P. Ryan might have had a shot to make the grab, but the Rams now running down to celebrate with a defensive play.
Now, back to You Better You Bet with Nick Kostos, presented by BetMGM on Westwood One Sports.
Aaron Donald, he's not even active. Not yet. And somehow, some way, our Defensive Player of the Week, sponsored by Navy Federal Credit Union, proudly serving all branches of the armed services, veterans, and their families. Learn more at NavyFederal.org. Our members are the mission. ESPN's Adam Schefter saying yesterday on Pat McAfee's show that he believes Aaron Donald will unretire and play for the Rams this year. The fervor and fever around the LA Rams, well, I guess the way I should say it, I screwed that up. If this were not live, I'd go 3, 2, 1 and start again. But it's live. It is what it is. The fervor will reach a fever pitch. See, if I get that right the first time, it's awesome. It is what it is. The fervor will reach a fever pitch for the Rams. We're already there with the fever pitch. Aaron Donald unretires. This is like Lawrence Taylor coming out of retirement for the Giants. Aaron Donald is one of the best football players ever. People are going to love the Rams. They should love the Rams. I just think the rest of the NFC is loaded. Absolutely loaded. And I'm not convinced the Rams will win the NFC when it's all said and done. When I woke up this morning, I got myself a gun. I didn't. But I love The Sopranos. When I woke up this morning, I felt like, well, not immediately because I wake up early because the show's early. So I wake up and I'm like, oh, geez, is it really time to wake up and I have to get out of bed? But once that dissipates and I get in the shower and I shake the cobwebs out a little bit, I'm filled with excitement. Now, the air conditioner's not on in the office right now, so I'm sweating a little bit. So it's actual perspiration. But I feel like right now I am oozing excitement for this France-Spain game later this afternoon. This is the World Cup final today. With apologies to England and Argentina tomorrow. And I think England-Argentina, and I led the show with this yesterday, England-Argentina is the more compelling game in terms of storylines, right? All the historical ramifications of this matchup, the past history between the teams, the hand of God, the goal of the century, the Beckham-Simeone red card, 1966, the advent of yellow and red cards as England dispatch Argentina en route to England's last major championship, the 1966 World Cup in England. That game tomorrow is more compelling, like from a story perspective. But this game today, France and Spain, these are the two best teams. This is Cowboys-Niners in the 90s. This is Rams-Seahawks from this past January. Hell, this is Arizona, and I know Michigan blew Arizona out in the game, but I think Arizona would have beaten UConn in the national championship game. This is Michigan-Arizona from Saturday night at the Final Four a couple months ago. This game, France and Spain, semifinal, this is the World Cup championship. Now, I like France in the game. Doesn't mean Spain can't win. Well, I'll give you a little bit more on how I expect the game to play out to close the show. But this today, semifinal, is basically the championship. And how awesome is that? And how lucky are we as sports fans that we get that in mere hours? Final break of the show, and on the other side, how we're betting France-Spain and the All-Star game to wrap it up here on a Tuesday.
Now, back to You Better You Bet with Nick Kostos, presented by BetMGM on Westwood One Sports.
It is time for the world's top stars to go head-to-head on the pitch. Grab today's Odds Boost token, join the excitement, and make your World's Game moment. Activate your token for any World's Game bet, and you'll receive a bigger payout if your bet wins. All right, let's get to the bets for tonight. Laura, please drop the dope-ass beat. All right, you know I like France. I have France to win the tournament. I will be adding France to win in the 90. If the game goes how I think it's going to go, I think France scores a couple goals. Let's call it 2-1. France beats Spain. And I'm giving Spain a goal out of respect. I think France win, and I think France win in the 90. Now, if Spain win, I am acknowledging that I think England is going to beat Argentina tomorrow. I would be surprised if Argentina won. I'm not going to be shocked if Spain win. So tomorrow, if Spain win, and I come on the show and I say, yeah, not really that shocked. I don't want to hear anyone saying, oh, well, you had France the whole time. I do. I do think France is going to win. But Spain's the second best team. So I am nervous. I haven't been nervous this whole tournament as a France backer. I haven't been nervous until now. These are your two best teams. Winner today wins the championship. I think it will be France. Allez, les Bleus. As far as the All-Star game is concerned, I'm a Yankee fan. I'm an American League guy. I'll take the American League for a couple bucks. I don't handicap the All-Star game, but I'd like to have action on it. Bet responsibly, please. Couple bucks for me on the American League plus 110. And you know, I did waste some money last night betting Ben Rice to win the home run derby, but I do think Ben Rice, the Yankee first baseman, what Ben Rice said after the home run derby, it was a pretty disappointing effort, was he was way too jacked up. And he felt like he was going to have it under control, and then it started, and he was so excited by the moment that he's over swinging and he tired himself out. And it was a great experience, but he knows what he did wrong. Okay. You think Ben Rice had enough time from yesterday into today to get things right? Now, I'm a Yankee fan. So am I being a homer? If I bet a couple bucks on Ben Rice at BetMGM, 25-1 to an All-Star Game MVP? Yes. Do I care? No. Thanks to our guests today on the show, Brad Evans, Robert Flores, and the great Tony Reale. Really enjoyed the conversation with Tony. Thanks to the crew, Bill, Kenny, Tyler, Laura, Mike, and Dan. I will see all of you tomorrow on a wonderful Sports Wednesday where we will preview England and Argentina. Until then, I'm Nick Kostos wishing you minimal sweats, winning bets, the absolute very best of luck. Allez les Bleus. Let's go France later today.